never be that much of an influx again. But we ended up with 4 stars, which I'm very proud of, but I'm very concerned about, and I'll show you why. So the score, we got a 61%. So the score is broken up into 2 pieces. 65% of that score comes from academic achievement, academic progress, and English language proficiency, or ELL. And then 35% of that score comes from school quality and student success. And I'll explain each one of those so that you have an idea of how it all impacts our score. So the first one, the academic achievement, this is where our scores from our PARC, last year's PARC scores, are factored into that number. And if you remember, I showed you earlier this year, our scores from our PARC were not as high as we would have expected or hoped for our students to be. So that, in my head, kind of sends up a red flag that we had kind of low scores, but we're scoring a 4. Like, how does that, so as we go through, maybe it will become clear, but that was my red flag. Like, what does that mean? That is something that we, as parents and teachers, have control over, our academic achievement. Having a rigorous curriculum, having kids do, work at their instructional level or above, the resources that we're using. So that's well within our control. That's 20% of the 65%. So that's a small percentage of that, which is now, that makes sense to me, like why, even though those scores were relatively low, it didn't impact it the way, that I thought it should have. The next piece is 25% of the academic progress is student growth. Well, we as educators have complained for so long that when you look at PARC scores, you're really comparing apples and oranges, because this year's 5th grade class is not who the scores are for 5th grade last year. And those are the scores that we're looking at. Those kids have moved on. Last year's 5th grade scores, they're in 6th grade now. So we're looking at our 6th graders' scores and making decisions on our current 5th grade. It makes sense because trend data does tell us that, patterns of teaching style, resources, we can make changes and adjustments based on that. So growth in English and language arts by the child, we were just thrilled about that, because now we're getting credit for, well, maybe Arlene didn't score a 4 in the PARC, but she scored a 2. But boy, last year she was a 1. Look at the growth she made. Doesn't that count for anything? And now it does. So we were very happy to see that. Oh, sorry, too soon. Let me go back one. Oh no, actually that's right. Well, this is all the calculation. I'm going to skip over that. But so the credit for completion of a well-rounded curriculum, that was one of the areas where Dr. Couch and the supervisors had a very, very quick struggle with trying to make sure that this really impacts high school and middle school and secondary because of credits and the requirements for graduation. So for us, they're only looking at our 5th grade scores, and they're looking for, do all of our 5th graders have a science, a math, a reading? So it's easy for us to get credit, our full 10% for that, because that's how we schedule our classes. All of our kids have that. The impact of that comes in middle school and high school when you talk about fine arts. Like maybe I'm in my 3rd year of Spanish, but because of my schedule, I'm taking Spanish, but I'm not taking a fine art, or I'm not taking something. And so we're getting slammed because it's not open to everybody. So we have to look at what courses we're offering all of our kids. So we had to do a little bit of adjustment there. So the well-rounded curriculum is critical. And that's 10% of the 65%. Sorry. The next piece, 10% of our 65% academic, is on ELL. Our students that come into the school that have English language support, that are non-English language speaking. And it doesn't matter what language, it's that they're non-English language. So 10% of our score is based on our an assessment that we give the students that come in from other countries that are non-English speaking, and then we look at the growth that they make in English through the year. So there's a formal assessment they take when they get here. That's their baseline score, and then we work with them. We pull them. We give them tutoring. The teachers make accommodations in the classroom, and then we look at how they grow. So that's the English language proficiency piece. And at any time, please don't hesitate to stop me if I'm going too fast or too or not clear. So the 35% is the school quality. Much of the academics our school has control over, but I'm feeling that this piece we don't have a lot of control over. And let me explain what I mean by that. The first piece is 15% of that 35% is for chronic absenteeism. We get slammed for chronic absenteeism. And what that means is any student can't miss more than 10% of a school year. Well, school year is 180 days. That's 18 days. We have kids who in the first semester have missed 16, 17 days. So we're going to be in trouble already for this. We have no control over that at this level. That's a parental thing, right? Because these kids can't stay home by themselves. So this is gonna be something that is gonna hurt us, but it also impacts more the middle and the high school. We can't teach the kids that are not in school. So this piece is very critical for the secondary. But we are also affected by it too. Our kids, for many of our kids, it's the first time in school. They get sick. They get, So from now on, we cannot approve any more family holidays. We cannot approve, and that's not based on, Kent County Public Schools. That's the Maryland State Department. And philosophically, I believe that going away on a trip with your family and having that time and working with your family and maybe keeping a journal or doing that also is critical to a social growth in a student. But the State Department is asking us to not approve any of those anymore because 10% of that's for and then this is so in other words, if your child in high school is going on a college campus visit, that's an absence against them. And we were thinking, holy cow, we thought that was a good thing. Like if you're going to be absent, you're going to. But the State Department is saying, if your body is physically not in that building, you are absent for whatever reason. They don't. It doesn't matter, excused or unexcused. The next one is the climate survey. Each year, the climate survey is given to fifth grade students and to parents. And at the beginning of the year, if you remember, I shared our climate survey with this group, and we only had 14 responses. I'm really, really asking that we get the word out and spread the word that we are making sure that we get more parents responding, because we do look at that, and that now is 10% of our 35%.
And Francois had put that link connected to the PTA site.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great.
I try to access that link, and it takes me to the Kent County Public Schools page, but there's nothing there for me to but that was on my phone. That didn't go through the laptop or the iPad.
It should be a Google link
So-
that takes you to the form, and you may have to use your student Google email address. But I'll check the link.
And I'll show you what it
Okay.
So we'll work those kinks out. Thank you for letting us know.
my answer.
So the climate survey really just has 4 components to it: safety, environment, engagement, and relationships. And so there's a variety of questions from each one of those domains that will show up on that survey. And then the last piece is the opportunities to access a well-rounded curriculum. And again, at our level, that really doesn't impact us as much as it does at the secondary level. But eventually our kids are going to the middle school. Those are, a third of that school are ours, and a third of the high school are ours too. So we are able to say that we get pretty much that 10% because all of our kids are enrolled in science, social studies, fine arts. We have all of those enrolled. And then it goes into the high schools. I'm not gonna do the high school. So our wait a minute, I gotta figure out how to get out of this. So our score, I don't know where my, I thought I had it on here. Oh goodness, I'm not sure where it went. Hold on. I thought it was connected. Oh, you know what? It was on the agenda. I'm sorry. Where is it? I know. I had our scores for our school. There it is. I knew I had it. Okay. Let me go to the beginning. All right. So. Okay. So for our school. Now this is the sample. This isn't ours.
Mrs. Redding also did a 2-page, this is like the newsletter for December. So if you didn't get it electronically, there's a paper copy. But we're trying to be a little less paper, so, but I also provided, I only need 20 copies. More ones here. Okay? Because we're trying to be a green school, we're working on that. Trying to taper off to that.
Our particular scores for the academic achievement, out of a possible 20 points, we scored 9. Now remember, this is the data that was last week when we were 3, but we're now 4. So we scored a 9, and this is where the proficient in mathematics and the proficient in English language kind of we got dinged on that. That's within our control, and we're taking steps to make changes to that in our classroom. In the increase in comprehension skills, working on things that we can do in our classroom. Excuse me. Next is the academic progress piece and the credit for completion. So out of a possible 30, Galena got 15. And part of it is the student growth percentile in math and the student growth percentile in English, which makes sense because of our PARCC scores. Our kids didn't make the growth that we would have expected them to do. So hopefully this year we're going to see a big change in there. So we only got half the points for that. That is within our control. So those are things that we have steps that we're going to address. So for English language proficiency, out of a possible 10 points, we scored 6. So that's 55%. So we're not feeling bad about that, but we know we have more work to do. That is within our control. So we're taking steps to address that. So for the school quality, this is out of a possible 25, we got 22 points. And this is where students are not chronically absent, 12 out of 15, which is good. And because, you know, most of our kids are not absent 18 days. It isn't that, that's not an issue. And then access to a well-rounded curriculum, we got a 9.8 out of 10. Wow. Could that have been where they rounded? I don't know, but that's odd to me, a 9.8 out of 10. But I like the 22. I mean, that's a good score. And so, you know, we do have control over this as well. So we're working towards that too. And then they talk about the rounding. So this year, we're going to have a maximum of 85 points because the climate survey that was that's going out is not going to count. That's going to be the baseline. So when you take it again in the spring, then that will be what that will add the points to make it, you know, to 100%. So right now our scores are out of 85. The middle school's out of 83 and high schools are out of 9 because there's no climate survey to be able to add. So they backed that out of the final score. So that says our overall, it says 60%, but we really at this point are 61. So 60% is 3 stars, 61% is 4 stars. So we are a 4-star school, which I'm very, very proud about, but I'm thinking it's by the skin of our teeth, and we still have work to do. So really, our challenge is to keep that, to stay at a 4, because we have work to do, and I can't see jumping, to a 5. But we feel very confident that we can do that. We can stay at a 4, especially when all of the school systems in the state are now going to make changes to their curriculum so that it meets all of their requirements. So on the ranking of all of the schools, we rank down low, and if you look at Anne Arundel counties, they bombed in this particular rating, and I'm going to tell you why, is because they made no adjustments to any of their criteria when we got the preliminary data. So that when that comes out next year, they're going to have a whole lot of growth, because they're going to make the changes that we made before the final came out, if that makes sense. So there's still a great school system, but be careful when you look at, we can spin the data any way that, so be careful when you look at the data. We didn't do as badly as it looks like on paper, because I think some school systems didn't go around, like for the well-rounded curriculum. We got dinged because we don't have a separate grading for PE and health. Our PE and health are 1. So we had to go back into Power School, reload all of those grades, and separate health from PE. Our kids get it, but we didn't grade it that way. So once we did that, then we met the criteria for that. Anne Arundel County left it together, so that this year when the scores come out. So be careful when you look at the scores and the rankings, is really what I'm saying. Any questions about that? Any questions? All right. Then the next piece. So for discipline, one of the things, when an incident occurs at school, it takes a lot of time to do the due process that kids are entitled to when something happens. So that's a matter of me pulling children, getting a story and a perception, pulling other children, getting a story, the adults that are involved, and if it involves a classroom teacher or a classroom teacher was in the room, I can't go in while they're teaching. I have to wait until they have a planning time or they're, have a minute to talk, and then calling parents and having, so it takes a long time for me to be able to get to go through the due process. But I do go through every single one, and I do make the attempt to call all the parents that are involved. So I just wanted to put that out there that I am very much aware when a situation happens, and I just ask for some time to go through the due process, because everybody's entitled to that. When you send your kids to school here, they're mine in loco parente. It's during the time that they're here, I am their parent in absence of you, and I have kids. So I make sure that I treat all of the kids as if they were my own. And I make sure that if a situation happens, it is attended to and it is taken care of. And if things aren't handled in a way that an adult in a situation wants it to be handled, I can't. There's rules and regulations I have to follow. HIPAA laws. I can't tell you what happened to another student or another adult. I can't. It's against the law, and I'm not going to. Just as I'm not going to talk about your child to anybody else. I have the same respect for all children. So please understand. And then there's one more thing I meant to say. I just went right out of my head.
They need to give you time, and then
Oh,
you could call them, that you'll talk to them.
Right, and come in, like pick up the phone, stop in, do whatever you need to do, and we'll make sure that we resolve things at the lowest level. But we are an elementary school. Kids are learning a lot academically, socially, and emotionally. So I thank you for support. We work really hard to make our perception in the state, a more positive perception. So we just need help, because we have a lot of really good things happening here, a lot of good things. So I thank you for all your support, for sure.
As a parent in the county as well, if you see something on Facebook that should be a private matter, encourage other parents to come and talk about it face to face. because, as you know, we're in a hyper cycle of media, and we just don't need to, we need to solve it the old-fashioned way, which is with people talking to each other.
And we did it. And
Yes,
all is right with the
right.
world.
I think sometimes too, from me personally, coming from like a preschool daycare environment prior to attending public school, there's an expectation of my time's important and I'm paying you to take care of my child, so if I have a concern, it will be addressed right now. And that's not always
Reality.
exactly.
You know, because we're dealing with
For sure.
lots of
So there's a learning curve for parents
There
depending on
is.
background as well.
Yes.
There is. That's a good point.
Absolutely, other parents can help with that.
Right,
For
and
sure.
it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
So thank you for that. And I just, you know, we really do work hard. And the teachers here are great. And the kids are great. And the families are great. And I just feel like we're very lucky. We're very lucky. So thank you for your part in all of that, for sure. Flo, do you have anything for Title I that you want to?
No, I don't. We just need to push that climate survey like everybody you talk to.
We need to check that link.
That's great. And then we'll push. I'm thinking about us having a time to say, come on in when you're here for, I don't know, some social event. Come and fill out the climate survey. Maybe we'll set up the computers here for that.
That's a good idea.
That is a good
Sometimes
idea.
you don't have access to Wi-Fi.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and so I'll look at the calendar and see if we can do that, get that going.
That's a
next
great
time
idea.
people come in.
That's a real good idea.
Okay?
Just small.
And 2 cups of coffee today.
Woo!
Do you guys have anything that you want to
PTA,
share or
anybody?
ask or anything?
Now, I know we're supposed to have another PTA meeting. I'm not quite sure when
Okay.
that is. I'm sure it'll be scheduled
It'll be
probably sometime after the holidays. Yeah.
The holiday shop is off the hook. The stuff that's in there is just gorgeous. So the kids are going to be excited when they go through. So if you have items that you're bringing in or sending in, just send them to the office and we'll take care of it from there. We'll make sure it gets back to the PTA.
Are we
We are
doing
working
canned
on it.
food drive?
Canned food drive, yes,
Okay.
yes, always. We're doing a school-wide goal instead of trying to do classes. So that I think last year the goal, I think they got like 1,000. So I think this year we're going for 1,500. So we're gonna, you know, we knocked it out of the park last year. So we want to up the ante.
And what's the last day for bringing in?
The last day of school.
The last day of school, so the 21st. Okay.
Are you sure it's the 20th?
No, it's the 14th.
I was gonna say, because I know the toy drive that 4-H is doing, the box, great job with that. But yeah, I'll be stopping by on the 14th to help with
Okay.
getting that to
It is the 14th.
Okay, the 14th.
I'm glad you
Okay.
said that. Keep dates in my head.
It's all right.
Steph and I are working on something with the PTA as well for a science-based assembly or night. We're trying to get Justin out. We're trying to, but he's kind of he's a hard commodity. You know, his calendar might be pretty tight, but we do want to do something science-based in the winter.
Nice.
And maybe
For family night.
For another family night, right?
And maybe we can hook him up for next year.
Right, that's
You
what
know?
I
Put
think
it
it
on the
might take us
calendar.
another year.
Yeah.
I just knowing how tight he is, but he would be,
He's awesome.
it would connect wonderfully with our 5th grade and 4th grade curriculum. It would be fabulous, and he's great. Seriously. So if anybody knows him or has any connections,
Our Facebook page, our school's Facebook page is just adorable, and I love everything about it. The kids are so cute. We're just trying to keep putting on, you know, some good positive things. I have it right here if you're not friends with us, and I keep it up all the time because I just monitor what's going on. I want to make sure that, you know, it's only good happy things that are happening. So we have a lot of neat. There's our 4 stars. Woo! And then this was kind of the explanation, and I felt like that was a lot of information to try to process. And really, what does that mean for Galena? I mean, I know if I was a mom, I'd be like, okay, that's great, but what does it mean for us? So that's why I wanted to make sure I shared that with you. And then our holiday concert was fantastic.
It was great.
It was fantastic. Like, if that didn't put you in the mood, then nothing will. Like, you aren't going to get in the mood. So it was really fun. Really fun. Anything else? We good?
and the good thing, you guys, when we shared the SIP plan, I don't mean to be taken over.
You're fine.
The SIP plan really matched what our needs are, and it matched the support card. So, like, we are on the right track. We know what we need to improve in.
Great.
And we'll, it's a work in progress, but I was kind of pumped, Arlene, when we went through it as a staff. I was like, okay, good, we're in the right direction.
Yeah, we are completely aligned.
Right. So that was good.
So I'm excited to see our scores this year. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Teachers are fired up too because they're doing some neat things in the classroom. So thank you guys for coming. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. I know it's not easy to carve out time, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
There's evaluations back there too, if you don't mind filling one out. That'd be great. Thank you.